what you're looking at, and we can go from there.
So I just hit share screen here.
Yeah.
All right. Why is it black?
I can see your screen. It's just like the zoom. If you just minimize the zoom, it'll. Yeah, so now I'm looking at your screen, and then if you just pull up Facebook.
How come I can't? Am I supposed to get rid of the?
Maybe just move the window out of the way.
Yeah, let's try that. I just got so much crap on here. So basically, what I wanted to do is I just wanted to go to the Facebook. See if I can get rid of this thing. Can I just? If I get exit out, would you leave or no?
Not actually sure.
It's not letting. Let me see. It's not letting me minimize it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so let's just go to the. Show you, and you can tell me which way to go.
Yeah, so you go business or.
Yeah, let me just go to that site here. Manage ads, right? So I started just to get it going. I got to fix the pages and everything, so it's these are little ones that I've done. So this is the one right here. So this is the conversion one, right?
Yep.
I was out there just selling like solar, just to put it on solar phone chargers.
Okay.
So anyway, so this I've done it for 2 days. So can you take over the screen, or do I have to?
No, it's gonna have to be you walking me through your screen.
Okay, so you tell me where I should, I should go now.
Yeah. So basically, let's back up and discuss some Facebook ads theory here. So basically, the way that Facebook works, it's an auction, right? Yeah. And so you're familiar with that. Are you familiar with how it optimizes for conversions?
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. So we can skip that. So basically, you are selling these solar chargers. That's great. Obviously, you're optimizing for purchases, or at least you want to get purchases. So based on what I'm looking at right here, it looks like this ad set is actually set up for a view content conversion optimization, which basically means that if you click into this ad set, if you click edit under the ad set, if you highlight over it and then click edit.
Over here?
Yep. Over on the right hand side, maybe just click the pencil on the far right to your screen.
Yep. Right here?
Yep. Yeah, so you can see there, so at the ad set level is where you actually set your conversion optimization. And so right now you can see that you've set your conversion event as a view content conversion. And so that means that you told Facebook that you care more than anything else about view contents, which is basically the same as a click, right? So you told Facebook that you want Facebook to find everyone who's most likely to click on your ad and view your product, and after that you don't care what happens. So what you would want to actually do is set your conversion event for a purchase.
Can I X out this?
Yep. And so you can see you've got an add to cart there. Initiate checkout and purchase. You've got all of those. So another thing to keep in mind is, especially if you're running on a fairly low budget, which is fine, Facebook needs it's like 21 conversion pixel triggers per week to optimize. You might have heard of that rule. And so basically,
I didn't know the number, but I knew there was a certain amount that they would use, and then it might work to also do the lookalikes and some of the other stuff that hopefully will work.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. So you're relatively familiar with it. So yeah, Facebook, whenever you set a conversion event, you need to make sure that that conversion event will happen at least 21 times in a week in order for Facebook to optimize for that. And so if you have a budget of like $10 a day, you're probably not going to get, I don't know, how much does this solar charger cost?
The thing was like $29.
Okay, yeah. So at like a $10 budget per day, you're probably not going to get 21 purchases a week at that ad spend. So I would set your conversion event to an add to cart. You're most likely to get more add to carts, and so that's going to be easier to optimize for.
So when you have a bigger budget is when you look for purchase?
Yeah, so like basically you're familiar with like sales funnels, right?
Yep.
Great. So with e-com especially, I don't know how familiar you are with e-com, but
I've been studying this for about a year and a half. So I mean, I've got so many people that I've listened to and watched. So I don't know what's right and what's wrong. So you can tell me.
Awesome. So with e-com, basically, industry average in e-com is 60% of the people who add a product to the cart leave and never come back for various reasons. And so basically that means that you're going to start out, like let's say you start out with 100 clicks to a page. Let's say 20 of those clicks actually add a product to the cart, and then 4 people actually go and buy that product. So long story short, if you have a high budget, you're going to get enough volume to that page to get 20 purchases. But until you have a high enough budget to do that, you want to take a step back up the funnel, which in this case would be add to carts, just to make sure that you get 20 of those pixel fires per week.
Okay, so the idea is the more money you have, the more money you can make. However, is it the adage that you shouldn't scale up until you know you have something that works, right?
For sure.
So using that $5 or $10 budget at least allows you to see, hey, people have an interest, they're going into the cart, maybe there's a reason that they're not, but they're showing an interest.
For sure. So,
right?
Yep, 100%. And so basically what you would want to do is, I think I have a video of this on my YouTube channel where I walk through how to do this for an e-com store,
okay.
I'll give you the link to that.
Probably have it on. I've probably been watching it inside the Facebook. Actually, if you look, let me see it. I was talking about. I might not have it. I might have got rid of it. Let's see here. Is that the one right there? How to make $10,000 per week or something?
It might, yeah, I think it might be actually. Yep, this is the one, understanding your KPIs. Yeah, so the idea is basically you take your product and you take your product's like profit. So let's say your profit is $10 for the sake of simple math that I can do in my head. So it's $10, and then you basically just reverse engineer your KPIs at each step. So you know that for everyone who visits your page, 10% of those people will add your product to their cart. And then of that 10%, 20% will actually purchase. So you're looking at, that you can reverse engineer your KPIs that way. You know exactly how much you can pay for an add to cart. You know exactly how much you're willing to pay for a purchase. And so then when you have that all laid out, even though you're optimizing right now for your add to cart, assuming that add to cart optimization is getting you add to carts below your KPI, then that allows you to scale it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what is when you say the key performance indicators, what is the dollar amount, or what percentage?
Yeah. So that's dependent on your product, right? So like I have clients who sell a $2,000 consulting service. So they're willing to get on the phone for up to, $600, $700 per phone call. And so I'm willing to spend much more on a click for their clients than I would be on selling solar chargers.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
so let's take an example. Let's just use these folks that have the gym, right?
Yep.
An annual membership for them is they charge $30 a month, 24-hour fitness. It's called Anytime Fitness. There's like 3,000-4,000 of them around.
Yep.
And so they charge, again, $30 a month. So let's just say all in with everything, it's $400 a year for a client. So that's what we think the client's value is if they stick it out for the year. And that's normally they try to get you in a contract to do that.
Right.
So someone like that, realistically, is there a dollar amount that we place on that $400? Say, look, what we want to do is we don't want to spend X amount of dollars more than this because the value of that client is only 400. So is it, hey, I'll spend $100 to make 300?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how you do it. And so basically, you just want to sit down with them, and you need to walk them through. Like I'm not familiar with Anytime Fitness or 24-Hour Fitness, but I'm assuming that they have some sort of a phone sales process. And so you would just need to talk to whoever's in charge of their phone sales. Maybe it's the owner, and just say, hey, like what's your closing rate on the phone? Let's pretend, again, for the sake of simple math, their closing rate on the phone is 50%. So if you're willing to pay $100 to acquire a new client and they close 50% of those phone calls, that means that you would be willing to pay up to $50 per phone call. And so, you could then run ads to that in a couple different ways. Option one would just be running ads straight to a landing page that encourages people to call. Option two would be running ads to a landing page with an email opt-in, and then have some sort of email sequence that eventually requires them to call.
So you find it from folks that you've dealt with or heard in terms on the gym side, is that something, rather than putting an actual offer, making it something that's kind of sexy so people, hey, yeah, everybody offers the 7 days, come in for 7 days trial, but maybe there's an added advantage of saying, not only do you get, we're going to give you 7 free days, and we're also going to give you, 3 hours of personal training, for free, or whatever that is, whatever the number is. So is it better to have them actually get them in on your email to see what's going on and then get them to the store, to the facility, or you're saying to make the phone ring and try to close them on the phone? What I think is more difficult when you're trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it totally depends, right? Like anytime you can get someone into the facility, that's going to be better. So if your fitness owner is open to doing discounts like that, then hell yeah, do that. As far as pushing people straight to a phone call versus email, I would test it. Frankly, you're probably going to have better luck with an email opt-in first. And then offering them, discounts and entice them to make the call through email. Right. But ultimately, that's something you just want to test because anytime I make a prediction like that, usually I'm wrong. So I've just found to test it. All
right, I don't want to deviate, but I was just because that's a question that I'm sure is going to be asked. So, for instance, we'll do the cart optimization, and then add to the cart. So there's a budget that was set. Now, again, here's an example. Audience definition, right?
Yep.
So what did I do? I you know what? And I'm looking, and I'm just playing with this, knowing that I wasn't going to make any money on this, as I said. So I said, okay, let's just do this. This would be something for and I put it down for the Houston area where they just had Hurricane Sandy, right? I mean, Hurricane Harvey.
Yep.
And what I'm thinking is they have so many of these people are sitting there that don't have power at their house, have no way to keep their phone charged. Hey, let's throw out a couple of ads and see what happens to people thinking about, hey, I can get a solar charger, for $29 delivered from the USA, within 5 days, 3 to 5 days, whatever it is, I can get that. So when you look at something like that, there's no way to define who that customer is, right? Because it's just so broad.
Right.
So I knew that, and that's what I did it because I wanted to see how many people I could at least look at what I was doing and to see if my ad was being able to pull in terms of the quality of what my ad looked like. And I thought it did pretty well because I had a lot of video views for that. I thought maybe which you can see when we close this down. No one bought anything, which is fine, but I just, again, using that as an example. Now, I'm going to show you another one that I did for helping a gentleman out that was interested in doing something for a mixer that he does, a social mixer in New York City. And then another one was a contest entering a raffle to win 2 free tickets on JetBlue and going down to the Dominican Republic to a 5-star resort, all expenses paid for 6 days or 7 days, whatever it was. So those are different ones. But in terms of looking at what the analytics say, that's the thing about knowing, okay, what am I supposed to be looking at to see it work? Because, I mean, I've got so much crap around here. It's just, if your ads aren't pulling, I mean, I hear stuff like, test the budget, gauge it, and if the CPC links are under $1, look for things that are under 10 cents or CPC links under $1. Again,
yeah, so
I got so much shit in my mind. I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, 100%. And it can be super confusing, especially since everyone who's trying to sell a course claims to have some super secret system. So the reality is it's completely dependent on the funnel that you're setting up, right? Like a webinar funnel's KPIs are going to look different than an e-commerce store's KPIs. And so basically what I would recommend you do is, like, anytime you're launching a new campaign like this, is you literally, on a piece of paper in Excel, whatever you're most comfortable with, set up like a step-by-step, this is the funnel that people will go through. People will click on an ad, people will visit a landing page, and then take some sort of action, most likely an email opt-in. And from there, then they will go through an email sequence. Mm-hmm. And from there, then there will be some sort of call to action. That's kind of the stereotypical funnel. It'll change. E-com's, like, obviously there's no email sequence. It's just landing page to purchase, hopefully. But set up that funnel, and then you start at the very end of the funnel, which is a purchase, and you say, okay, this is a purchase. This is how much revenue is generated. This is the profit margin, and this is the minimum ROI that my client is willing to tolerate, right? So from there, now you say, okay, so based on this minimum ROI, let's say it's a 200%, I can spend up to 50% of the profit of this final product to acquire a customer. Make sense?
Yep, I got that.
And so then once you have that down, then you just kind of pick some baseline metrics, like the baseline landing page conversion rate for a simple landing page with a first name email call to action. That's generally around 20%. Can be more, can be less, but generally speaking, 20% of the people who see your landing page, assuming your ad is targeted somewhat well, are going to actually opt in. So you can kind of just take those kind of baseline metrics, and then you can reverse engineer your way on down your funnel so that you know at every step approximately how much you should be willing to pay. So you know approximately how much you should be willing to pay from a CPC, a cost per click perspective. You know approximately how much you should be willing to pay from a cost per lead perspective, cost per people who actually register. And then you know approximately how much you should be willing to pay for the other steps down the funnel. And so once you have all of that mapped out, then it becomes much easier, because even when you're starting off at a low scale, you just optimize for that next step in the funnel. So let's say you're at $10 a day and you're running that stereotypical funnel that I was telling you about with emails. You would optimize at $10 a day, you would optimize for email opt-ins, right? Because, like, let's say you're selling a $2,000 product, you're probably going to spend $1,000 to acquire, one customer at that $2,000 price point.
Okay.
So if you're spending $10 a day, you're certainly not going to be spending, $20,000 that week. So you're not going to have 20 customers. So you can't optimize for the customer. You'd have to optimize for the lead in that case. Are you following?
All right, so say that again. So you optimize, I'm just writing some notes. So you optimize for the lead.
Yeah, so
like the gym person, they're optimizing for a lead to get someone to click on the site so that the MailChimp picks up their email, they opt in for an email. Is that pretty much?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's correct.
So that's the cost per lead. But see, I guess there's different ways to think about this, right? Because I can get so many leads, but if I don't get any sales from the leads, right? So, I always hear people talk, oh, you see the impressions, you got so many clicks. Well, I think I'd rather have, probably what leads to come in rather than cost per click. I mean, just people clicking on, of course.
Yep.
Out of that, how do you justify what percentage of those people are quality people? You know what I mean? You get less crap. I got a lot of people looking at me, but I don't have any. There's no functionality behind that, so that they do something else to buy my product or buy a membership or whatever. So
yeah, and so I mean, the reason that right in a perfect world, all you ultimately care about is the end result customer, right? But that could be a 14-day delay. And so the reason that we optimize when we're first starting out at a cost per lead level is because that's what we can control. Like that's the information that we have to work with, right? Like there's a lot of variables between someone seeing your ad and someone signing up for a 1-year gym membership, and we can't control all those variables at once. Right. And so basically you have to start somewhere and start optimizing. And so generally speaking, by reverse engineering what you're willing to pay, you can say with a reasonable degree of certainty that if I'm targeting people that I believe are likely to purchase this package at the end of the day, then assuming I hit my KPIs at the CPC level, at the cost per lead level, I can predict with a reasonable degree of certainty that the numbers that I need are going to come out on the other side. And if that doesn't happen in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then obviously you need to readjust.
All right, so let's do an example. So let's just say I have $400 gym membership, right?
Yep.
So let's do the reverse so I'm clear on this. So I'm writing this down. So I have $400 gym membership that someone for a year once you sign up, right?
Yep.
So out of that $400, I know that there's marketing dollars I need to put into this to get this person signed up. So now how do we walk this backwards from the 400?
Yeah, so we're sticking with the gym membership, right?
Yeah, just for now. Yeah, that's
cool. So like I'm making these conversion numbers up kind of based on rules of thumb. Yours are going to be different, but so we have $400 on the back end, right? $400 purchase. How much of that, like what is your client willing to spend? Just make up a number. Let's say $200. Your client's willing to spend $200 or no, $100 we agreed on.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's say.
Cool. So your client's willing to spend $100 to acquire a customer. So from there, we can just work backwards. So before they purchase, they're going to, let's say, get on a phone call or walk into the gym.
Yep.
And so they're going to have a contact. And let's say that contact closes at 50%, right? So that means, so that means that you can afford to pay $50 per contact. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's $50. And now let's say that before the contact, there's, we'll skip the email sequence because that just adds in weird math. It's easier to do this in Excel, but so $50. So before the contact, you have your landing page to submit your phone number, right? And so we just discussed on the landing page, you generally have a 20% conversion on a landing page. So 20% of $50 is $10, right?
Yeah.
So that means you can afford to pay $10 per lead. Now, you know that, or I know rather, that generally speaking, and cost per click, it gets a little fuzzy. I really never focus on my cost per click. Right. It's a decent leading indicator, but like I don't really care about my cost per clicks ever. But generally speaking, you can expect if you have a very well targeted ad between a 1 to 2% click-through rate, which means let's call it a 2% click-through rate. So if you can afford to pay $10 per lead and you know that you get a 2% click-through rate, that means that you can afford to pay whatever 2% of $10 is. What is that?
20%?
Yeah, what is that? 20%? 20 cents? Yeah, so like that seems a little bit low. But yeah, basically backing it down, that's how you would do that.
Okay. So let's just use that as a 15 to 20 cents per click. Got it. Okay. Perfect. So ultimately, that $10 per lead right? So that's what I need to spend to get someone in my door.
That's correct. Yeah. So that, I mean, that $10 per lead is whatever that lead call to action is, whether it's a phone number, whether it's an email. Like it's dependent on what your funnel looks like.
Got it. Email. Okay. Funnel. Perfect. Okay. Or walking. Okay. And that's coming from the landing page.
Yep, correct.
Got it. So that came from landing page. Yeah, so that's kind of a straightforward one because then on the back end, and you can start, it's a little different, I think, when you're trying to, well, probably not for them. That's when you get in and you start setting up the MailChimp so that say, hey, I'm sorry, you come up with one of the letters, standard letters, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't hear from you, or sorry you didn't come in, and we can just keep going after them that way. But
Yep.
So here's an example. So let's take this. Is there any way I can tell them to say, on an average, if we spend, I don't know, let's say $75 a week, right? Which, let's say we run the ad for 3 days. Let's say the better days, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is. So we say we're going to run an ad, we're going to try it for $75, and we'll do $150 for 2 weeks. Is there any way, because the first question I'm going to ask them, how many people do you think are going to be able to call? How many people do you think are going to call on the phone, or how many people do you think are going to want to come in to see the gym? And that's just a realistic question that I'm sure everyone asks. So is there a way to give them an estimate of what we think if the ad is pulling the way we want it to? Is there an actual number, or is there a gauge that we can use to give them an estimate?
I mean, there's ways to give estimates, right? But they're going to be pretty much blind guesses, especially when you go.
Absolutely.
Especially when you go into a company that hasn't had a funnel like this set up before. Right. I can say that $150, it's going to be tough to start from scratch and actually make that profitable. That's just very difficult to do.
Can we get 2 sales? I mean, do you think I can get 1 sale to cover the cost? So there's an added advantage of going forward. Because I think you and I talked, or we emailed earlier about, hey, look, the only way to do this is going to go in there and say to someone, hey, look, I'm going to do this for free. Here's 2 weeks. Let's try it for a couple of weeks and let's see what happens. We're not expecting miracles. I'm not a miracle worker. All I'll say is I think I can do better than what you're doing today. And I think with what we have available today with our, with technology, we can track to see exactly how we're doing as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great pitch. The problem with, so we just did this back of the envelope KPI reverse engineering, right? And we basically said that we can pay up to $100 to acquire a customer. So there's still going to be, in the long term, that's what that number will likely shake out to be. But there's still going to be a ton of random variance on the short term, right? Just like if you flip a coin, you might get heads 6 times in a row. But you know that if you flip a coin 1,000 times, it's going to be close to 50-50, right? And so the risk with running very, very short term, very, very low budget trials is there's just there's so many variables. This is a brand new funnel. And so basically what I'm saying is to set yourself up for the best means of success, they need to have a budget. I've personally never worked with a client with a monthly budget of less than $1,000, but they need to have a budget of at least $500 a month, and they need to be committed for at least 4 weeks to give you time to set things up, to split test, and to optimize. Because for me personally, I've never once launched a campaign that's been a winner the first try, ever.
Come on.
Yeah, I know, man. It's just shameful, just a disgrace.
Come on. Minimum budget. So you say a minimum budget. Yeah, because the gym is small. It's not a very big place.
For sure.
Let's say it's $500 to start with. Minimum budget. $500. Okay. And that's for, let's say, a 2. Now that $500 is a week, or is that for a month?
That's for a month.
Okay. So between $500 and $1,000 a month minimum per month. Got it. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Got it. All right, so I can work on that. But just going back as quickly as the page right here, the one in front on the screen.
Yep.
So is this number, this reach? I hear everybody talk about. I've heard stuff that you have to be much more targeted. People I've heard say generic. What's your thinking in terms of the potential reach for people?
I mean, so you're running for a single local position, right? 24-hour fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your reach, like obviously you'd want to limit that geographically.
I'm not talking about that. This is the other one that I did. This is
great.
I understand. I would just do a 3-4 mile radius around the location and target those, 18 or 18 to 80 because she's got a lot of older clients as well. So
great.
But I'm just talking about the one on the screen, which is the one that I was playing with. Do you look for more of a targeted, from 1.5 million, 2 million, or it doesn't matter in your opinion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in regards to drop shipping, there are a lot of people who suggest going like very small, like less than $500,000 audiences to test, because when you're drop shipping, like there's no real opportunity cost to testing an infinite number of products, and you have no idea which audiences are going to resonate. And so by keeping your audiences very narrow like that, it allows you to get accurate split testing results, right? And actually find product market fit. When you are doing, generally speaking, in order to scale a campaign, you would want to have a minimum audience size of 2 million. Generally 2 million to 6 million I've found is the sweet spot for campaigns that are dialed, that are optimized, and that are scaling in like ad sets of $800,000, $1,500 a day plus. So it kind of just depends on what you're trying to do. For your purposes, for this e-commerce store, when you're trying to find an audience that actually wants to buy, I would keep it small and do multiple small audience ad sets. In this case, it kind of just depends on your product and what you're selling.